Welcome to our session, Pivoting to a Digital First Strategy and Launching a Community in 29 Days. My name is Bridget Heaton, and I'm on the customer marketing team here at Calibra. A little bit about me before we get started. I spent the early days of my career working for the State Department's exchange programs, helping to administer those programs. I then kind of pivoted into education technology with Schoology, and helped kind of build their marketing programs there, including their community and customer marketing. And today I'm really proud to join you from Calibra, where I've been here for the last year, helping to build out customer marketing with their team and helping to build and launch their new Data Citizens community. So I am excited to be joined today by Fleur Soaps, and I will let her introduce herself.
Thank you, Bridget. Really excited to be here. I'm the Chief Marketing Officer at Calibra. I joined just under 2 years ago, having spent the last 20 years in marketing focused on the intersection of data and technology. And I've been lucky enough to have held roles in New York, London, and San Francisco.
Thank you, Fleur. So to get us started, I'm going to just walk through our agenda quickly. So Fleur will start off with some background on our digital first strategy, and then I will take you through the launch of our Data Citizens community and some of my tips for expediting the launch of your own high growth community. So at this point, I will turn it over to Fleur to talk about Calibra.
Excellent. So who are we? Calibra is the data intelligence company. We help organizations make their data meaningful. And how do we do that? We've built the largest platform that allows companies to find, understand, and trust their data. Users of Calibra are able to reduce costs, increase productivity, and increase speed to market because they truly have access to the data that surrounds them. And overall, they're able to be more compliant as a result. We work with over 450 customers across the globe, across multiple sectors, and truly leaders in those sectors. And you can see from here, we work with organizations like JP Morgan, Adobe, Progressive, Southwest, and T-Mobile. And we're backed by some of the largest VCs around the world, including Capital G, Battery, Index, and Iconic. And really what I wanted to talk with you guys about today is how we began this journey and how we made the decision to launch a community in such a short amount of time. And that story began returning from a dream vacation to Australia when I got back to the office on March 8th, and our CEO turned to me and said, Fleur, what are we going to do about our Data Citizens Conference? Our Data Citizens Conference is our annual user event, which was slated to happen in June and was scheduled to be the largest event we've hosted to date. We had close to 1,000 people registered for the event already. It was a 3-day in-person event in New York, and we had already had 3 major trade shows in Q1 canceled because of coronavirus. And coronavirus was really at that point a major headline. Cities were closing and going into quarantine, and we were considering what to do with our own offices. And what I turned to our CEO and said that day was, give me a day. We have XCOM, our executive committee meeting tomorrow. I'd like to bring together my team, and I'll come back to you and the rest of XCO with a recommendation. That afternoon, we pulled together the team and I asked them, do we postpone our largest event? Do we cancel it, or do we go virtual? We had already seen some of the largest tech providers in the world make announcements around their events going virtual, but we didn't have the experience in doing that. We hosted webinars, but we'd never hosted a 3-day conference online. What are the implications to our pipeline if we cancel the event, our budget, and other activity? Would we be able to get a refund? Could we pivot? Do we have the tech in-house to build out this 3-day conference online? And how secure do we feel in our digital strategy? Having just built a marketing ops team at the end of 2019, we had the color to understand that events were a big part of our conversion process, and without in-person events, would we be in trouble? I walked into XCOM the next morning with the guidance from the broader team and said we were going to pivot our event to a digital experience. We weren't going to host a fully blown digital conference, but we were going to have a combination of on-demand content with in-person Q&A, and really put our new community at the center of the strategy. We pulled together a 3-month digital roadmap looking at all of our assets and made recommendations on optimizations and improvements, content and channel distribution, analytics, strategy, and technology. And by the end of that week, while we had announced internally that we were going to be moving to remote work, Bridget had delivered a proposal to accelerate the launch of our Data Citizens community. Our plan at the start of 2020 was to relaunch our community at the in-person event. We had a vision to bring together the offline and online to deliver a year-round experience. And she had already worked with Influitive in the past and was confident that we can deliver a beta in a short amount of time and go live with this ahead of that June conference. So in partnership with the Influitive team and our broader marketing team, the Data Citizens community came to life in 29 days. It was the center of engagement at our virtual event. And since launch, we've had over 1,000 advocates join, 50% engagement rate, and 3,000 acts of advocacy completed. I'm going to pass it over to Bridget, who will talk through how our broader marketing team completed this Herculean task and to deliver this new community in such a short amount of time. Bridget, over to you.
Thank you very much, Fleur. So as Fleur said, I saw an opportunity to gain support for and expedite a plan to relaunch our digital community. I knew this could help our customers, and it could also help propel our community strategy forward. So it really was a double win. So how did we do this? We were able to build this high growth community in 29 days, not just because of my past experience. I have implemented Influitive before at another company in another industry with another community, but because there's a couple of key strategies and tips for expediting this launch to really build a high growth community that I think that this group can learn from. So I think anybody can do it, and here are 5 of those tips from me. Tip number 1, always do your research, be ready to make your pitch, because you never know when the opportunity will really arise. When the pandemic hit, as Fleur said, we needed to pivot to digital, and I knew I could make a difference fast. I was confident, and I knew what I had to do to succeed. So this was not just because of that past experience, it's because I'd done the research and had my pitch ready. It was incredibly rewarding, of course, to be the first to step up to the plate and confidently commit to that plan. So with that confidence, it really wasn't hard to get buy-in for this strategy, but here are a few things that I think you can do to prepare your own pitch and always be ready. So you want to capitalize on the right opportunity. You know, it is a little awkward to say that a pandemic provided the right opportunity to launch a community, but it did. We were able to pitch and get approval on this plan because there was clear value in what a community could provide during this time. I've also shared past examples and past Influitive presentations that, you know, if you know when the right opportunity arises and you're ready, you can really get a lot done. You know, one small anecdote, when I was at Schoology, we had a change in leadership. I've talked about this in prior presentations, but I was able to capitalize on that change in leadership because I was ready with data and the pitch and was able to prove value and get that buy-in. The second piece, along with doing that research and being prepared to share it, is always review multiple technologies. You're going to want to know those requirements and really build that wish list of what you're going to need to make this plan come to life, come to action. So you're going to need to know the costs of all of these technologies, what they all do, why the recommendation you're making is worth it. And you need to show that decision-making process in the pitch. So why are you selecting that tool? The second piece is before you really approach leadership, you want to engage stakeholders inside and outside the organization for feedback and buy-in. I ran surveys both with customers and with colleagues all through the first 6 months I was at the company. 90% you see highlighted here. That's the percentage of our customers who were surveyed who said they would actually actively participate in an advocacy program. So you want to leverage that feedback to make sure that you are including it in the plan and showing the value and the reasoning behind the decision you're making. You also want to let the data speak for itself. Listen to those stakeholders, include their feedback in the pitch, and you will, without a doubt, show that you've received that buy-in from across the organization. And lastly, just to be confident in your plan, you put this together, you're prepared, you're ready, and you know you can do it. And that, I think, speaks a lot louder than words. So the second tip I wanted to highlight was that you should use the launch playbook, but don't be afraid to customize or adapt it. So having set up Influitive twice at 2 different companies, the second time's definitely the charm. And it's clear that you can easily follow the same playbook at each time, at each company, but there are a few lessons learned in how to adapt that to make it happen a little bit faster and a little bit more custom to you. So I would say to use the playbook that's provided. The launch checklist that Influitive gives you is critical, but you also need an extremely detailed workback schedule. So I fully customize mine and add in multiple phases. You can see just a few here highlighted in the image. You don't want to forget to factor in time for that internal enablement. How are you going to spread the word about your initiative across the company? That needs to be a core part of this project plan. The second piece is beta testing. That can eat up 2 to 3 weeks minimum to get that done. So how are you going to make sure that you're implementing that in your overall workback schedule? A third and very important piece is that creative web and any integrations that you're pursuing are always going to take the longest, but they don't actually have to delay you. So you can start with those first, get creative in there early because you need to sell the vision of what it needs to look like. But if the full integrations, the whole enchilada is not fully set up by launch, it's okay. You can launch successfully with an MVP and really scale into that growth and all the bells and whistles that you want and visualize in your own community. So one example I wanted to share of that is with our single sign-on. So in order to launch the community, we didn't have single sign-on in place at first because we wanted to launch alongside a very special custom event. So we were able to hold on that and implement later to help save us time because we worked closely with Influitive to figure out the best means for doing that over time. So, that the big takeaway from this as well is that all of these phases can happen at the same time. You don't need to do it sequentially. You can, if you are afforded the bandwidth like I was to make this happen, you can really do all 5, 6 phases at one time and get this done as quick as possible, maybe even 29 days. So
the only thing I'll add to what Bridget said, which was amazing, is that having this planning document really enabled and mobilized our team quickly. Our marketing team is just over 30 people, and we were able to pull in creative, web development, product marketing really fast with clear goals and expectations. And I think that was a huge part of Bridget's success in getting this done so quickly.
thank you, Fleur. Yes, yeah, we have a huge team at Calibra for marketing, and it takes a village, I think is the phrase that they often use, and we really needed everybody to pitch in to make this happen. So tip 3, the MVP is the real MVP. So you really want to start what you need and scale. So I touched on this in the tip before, but you don't really need all of the bells and whistles to start. If you know your project plan and which levers you can pull and which levers can wait, you can really implement those later and take more of a phased approach. Here's just a quick high-level look at what our phased approach looked like. So at the highest level, our phase one of implementation was an MVP. Now, in terms of how Influitive kind of defines launching, we've fully implemented the technology and launched it in those 29 days, but I would consider that an MVP because we saved some of the more complex customizations and integrations to later, and we hosted just a sample of challenges and just a sample framework probably for each channel. So we had about 2 to 3 challenges in each channel. It was more of a skeleton framework for what we eventually wanted to have live and functioning in that multi-channel approach. And we had a huge focus on feedback. So you can see here, we had this help us help you channel where a lot of what we were trying to do with that MVP was really collect data and feedback from those initial users. And then the idea was that we would launch alongside, an event, and I'll talk about that a little bit more later. So there was a special custom campaign that was targeted towards the group we were inviting in. So phase two is really about that post-launch, quote launch, and growing and scaling. So you're finalizing the remaining integrations, you're implementing that feedback at scale, and to me, this is the most valuable way to do it because you're actually partnering with the people you're inviting into your platform to grow and scale it. You're taking their feedback, you're implementing it, you're partnering with them, and that speaks volumes about your relationship with your customers and the people in your community. So for tip 4, this is really around the launch itself. And so you really need to meet customers where they are. So you have an MVP, now what? You need to take customers from the places that they're innately living. Maybe it's social media, maybe there's some programs that exist already in your organization, or perhaps there's special events that they're used to in person. Find those places where your customers are used to interacting with each other and bring the platform to them. So here are a few of those tips to secure some early wins in bringing registrations to your platform. I'm a big fan of the rolling beta launch. I think I've sort of like trademarked that after this launch because the rolling beta is really, it puts a lot less pressure on a singular beta group to give you all the valuable feedback you need. And so, especially if this is something brand new to an organization or to a community, you want to make sure that with these betas, you're hitting them across the organization and across the ways that those customers are used to interacting with you. So we did a virtual user group where people were used to connecting in person. We simulated that in-person experience and tried to provide what they'd expect in a new way and show value there. We also had some existing education groups that we invited in, a product feedback group that we invited in as a way to get some different feedback. So they saw that this is a new way that they could run those groups. And then the last one was friendlies. There's always going to be a couple people that they're the first person you call if you need help or a reference or feedback. Invite them in and help them partner with you to build this platform together. So the idea is that you'll get these people in from all of these different sources in this rolling beta, and they'll get that feedback and data, and it'll look more happening and more like the place to be when you invite more people in when you do your big formal launch. So what we did is we hit the market with a big splash, as Fleur noted in her section of the presentation, the Data Citizens event. We really partnered in with this digital experience to bring community and networking through the new platform to this, what is historically an in-person event. So it was a huge component of this digital experience, and it was the place where all of the networking and connection happened. So, what is normally 1,000 person event ended up being like 3,000 or 4,000 people registering, and that's a huge group that we were able to hit with this amazing experience that helped to enhance Data Citizens 20. And then lastly, like the thing is, you really want to make your community the place to be. So after you kind of meet customers where they are, you also need to sort of, build buzz around it. And so we do that in a lot of different ways. Just a few to name are, community member of the month, highlighting their posts in thought leadership blog post articles, creating monthly discussions. There needs to be that instant gratification and value that you hit them hard in that first month. And so that takes me to tip 5, which is my final tip. And it's that you can't build Rome in a day. So you really want to set those expectations and commit to them. That's really happening both internally and externally. This is just the beginning of your community. And so this real work starts now. So you need people to know that. Communication is key. So externally, you really want to show that value early, like I'm saying, create that buzz, create that instant gratification of joining and getting value from the community. You want to make sure that you have as many of the company and organizational initiatives integrated into the community as possible. Great examples are product feedback surveys that we've done. We've got in, we have an amazing program called CDO Summer School that's integrated into our community platform. So all of the participants there are naturally in there networking and adding to the overall buzz and excitement of what's happening in the community. So try as best you can to really take this across your organization, build internal advocates. We have a community council where we invite people on a monthly basis to contribute active feedback. Our goal is to make sure they feel empowered and that they're contributing and partnering to build a successful community as well. Use that as an over communication reporting tool and make sure from the top down, you're sharing the successes that are happening there. The more you share those successes internally, the more you're able to provide opportunities externally to the people in the community so they continue to feel active and engaged and involved in your company. So we've done all of these strategies above and more to start our data citizens community at Calibra, and we're already seeing some high growth and success. As Fleur mentioned, we've already had over 1,000 of our advocates join, a 50% engagement rate already, and 3,000 acts of advocacy and more. This is growing daily. So it's very exciting to see the high growth of what's happening with the data citizens community already. And I'm confident that whether you're just getting started or if you've had a community for a few years, there's something tangible that you can take from this presentation that might help you with the launch of your community or the growth of it. If you're going to take one core thing away from this presentation, it's that it's okay to start small and to scale out. And it might actually be better that way because you'll grow faster. So to end, we wanted to take a look and share what's kind of next for our community as we move forward. So over the next year, our vision is to scale and enroll all of our customers and partners into the community. We want to continue to grow and scale everything we do from a community perspective, creating buzz and value along the way. We want to align our community to our customer journey to promote customer success, adoption, and retention, and really show impact to the business. We want to leverage the community to create a 360 view of each of our customers internally. And lastly, we want to be a leader and resource for the larger data intelligence market. So our goal is, we look forward to achieving these over the coming years to come back here next year and share and showcase those results with you. So thank you so much for your time, and we hope you enjoyed the presentation. If you have any questions or would like to talk to us more about the data citizens community and Calibra in general, feel free to contact us on LinkedIn or Twitter. And thank you, Fleur, for sharing your time with us today as well.
Thank you, Bridget. This has been a really amazing experience, and I just want to thank the team at Influitive for their partnership. I think the one biggest takeaway I'd give everyone here is that communities are critical right now. They're critical to creating markets, they're critical to creating categories, and they're critical to customer engagement. And we're really excited with what we've done in such a short amount of time. So thank you, everyone.
Thank you.